Okay, week 6, we're pulling in all the miscellaneous kind of things. And this this may not go in the order that the textbook has listed for the steps. I'm kind of just going to cover them as I go across the drawing. So let's go to the bathroom here first. Come on. Well, my mouse is not. Why is my mouse not working? Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, so the bathtub. I brought the bathtub in from the design center. And let me just throw some dimensions on it here. So it's 5 foot. It's a 36-inch by 5 foot bathtub. And you notice our room is slightly larger. Okay. Now I want to show you. This is a typical bathtub that I found it. I just found it on the Lowe's website. It's a typical one-piece bathtub. This one's a 32-inch by 60-inch. Okay. They have the dimensions and the installation instructions on all of these things. And this shows you the rough opening for the framing and for the drain line. And so the one we were looking at is a 32-inch by 60-inch. And so the width for the framing for the actual tub needs to be 60 and 1/8 inch. Okay. That's the critical part on like this one, because the tub itself, the overall measurement of the tub, the 60-inch, that's to the nailing flanges, or the flanges where you would attach it to the to the 2x4 wall, to the wall framing. And the tub itself is actually smaller than that. So when you're doing, 60 inches is kind of a standard size for a tub. But when you're dealing with these things, you need to figure out which one you're going to specify and make sure that your stuff fits. So technically, this wall should move over just a little bit, but we're not going to change it. I'm not going to change the size of this tub. I'm not going to move the wall. I'm going to keep it the way it is. Okay, so plumbing fixtures go on the A floor P fixture layer. Okay. You can bring in a toilet from the design center. You just need to make sure your spacing is correct. Okay. And you look in the textbook for that. Okay. The vanity cabinet goes on the A floor case for casework. And we're going to draw this one like 6 feet long. But look in the textbook for how deep a vanity cabinet is, this way. Okay. I then bring in a vanity sink bowl from the design center. Same kind of situation down here. This one, did I go 3'6"? Yeah, made it 3'6" long. Okay, because if you remember, manufactured cabinets come in 3-inch length increments. So 12 inches, 15 inches, 18 inches, 21 inches, 24 inches, like that. Okay. Okay. Closet rods. What I did with the closet rods, I'll go ahead and delete this one and draw one again for you. These go on the floor special layer. And I did a line, and I used my offset from snap. And I come over 20 inches. Ooh. Oh, my ortho mode. Okay, so 20 inches. What is going on? Hit 20 feet. Start over. Line, snap from. I guess my line command didn't take. Come over 20 inches and then draw it up. And you see it's not going to, I just stop it a little early. Okay. And then I can extend it. Okay, so that's the front of the closet shelf. Now the closet rod, we'll do an offset back 4 inches so that the hanging rod right here is like 16 inches off the wall. And we want to change the line type for that to -2. Okay. And so that's how we deal with the closet rods. The pantry shelf here is 12 inches deep, in both ways. So you can use a poly line, you can draw lines, but it's 12 inches deep both ways. Okay. The kitchen cabinets, it gives us dimensions for the start of the kitchen, the cabinetry at 3'3" and it's 11'3" long, 2 foot, 4 foot. The dimension they have here in the book, the 2'5" from the exterior framing, you would never dimension cabinets from the exterior framing. I don't know why it's like that in the textbook, but you would never do that because cabinets are installed after the drywall goes on, actually. Okay. So you can use a series of construction lines if you want to, or snap from whatever. So the base cabinets are 24 inches deep. They're going to be 11'3" long. You've got wall cabinets here. They're 12 inches off the back wall. And that's a -2 line type also. And you can bring in a kitchen sink and a range and a refrigerator from the design center over in the home planning, the kitchen's drawing blocks. Okay. Okay. The fireplace. Okay, so I'm giving you a drawing with dimensions for the fireplace. And I used polylines, and what I did is I drew out, well, they've been exploded into lines, but you can use lines or polylines either way. Draw this out 3 feet and then 2 feet across, and then I offset those back in 3 5/8 of an inch. Okay, this one is drawn at a 15-degree angle from the vertical, so you can use your ortho snaps here, your polar tracking, to get that. This, with the concrete hatch, that is 8 inches thick. And so I drew that in at 8 inches thick and then just projected these lines back till it joined there. And then come forward 3 5/8 for the brick, again, to draw that out. And you get half of it drawn, you can mirror over to the right side. Okay, so the hatch, the brick here for the hearth, that is this brick pattern right here. So use that, and I scaled it to 16, and that makes each individual brick about 8 inches long. Okay, which is kind of normal. And then the hatch here is just the standard ANSI 31 scaled at 16 also. And the fire brick hatch is the ANSI 37, I think. Yeah, ANSI 37, scaled at a 16 also. Okay. And then this is just a regular concrete hatch back here in the back. Okay. So I got those things. The porch, it is on the A-floor deck layer. Okay, and I drew the outside edges just flush with the outside of the walls, and then I used an array feature to come back. The boards are 6 inches apart, but in creating that array, I turned off associative, and so I'll show you. Just pick something here. Right here, if you turn off associative, when it completes the array, you've just got individual lines. So they're not all tied together. Okay. Okay. All right, text. We need a leader here to get an arrow down the stairway. And what I did is I created a new leader type. I called it stair. And these are, you can copy the annotated one if you want to. That's fine. Everything is by layer. Leader structure includes a landing. That's fine. Annotated, that's fine. But when it gets to content, select none. And that means you get just an arrow, an arrowhead. Okay. And then I drew the arrowhead pointing down the stairs, did a text in here. 3/16 is fine, and then just rotated it. So that indicates down. Okay, the entry arrow. I just used a polyline and like drew one side of it and then mirrored it to get it to be about the size that it looks right, okay? And then I did a solid hatch fill, okay? And that's on my A-floor identify layer, okay? And then because I had like two polylines, another line, and then a hatch fill. So I just selected all of those things and then right-clicked and went group. Okay, and so if you select something, you come down here, group, you can move, group bunches of things together and group them so that when you want to move it, you see this box around it and a handle in the middle. And that makes it easier to move and copy. Okay, so an entry arrow at the front door and the exterior door back there, or the rear door. Okay, so that's a lot of things there. Room names. What I did is I created a new text style, called it room name, set it at Arial 3/16 inch height, paper text height. Annotative is turned on, of course. Okay. And then I did one of them. So I just came in here, I did one. I used center justify so that no matter how long the words are, it's all kind of, centered in the middle. And then I did one, and then I copied it to every room, and it just went in and edited it. And you can use the same dimensions that are shown in the textbook. That'll be fine. And then just copied it into the rooms and edited it. The pantry, excuse me. I changed the pantry and the kitchen to 1/8 inch text after I placed them to get them in the right location. Okay, so those things. Now we need to do some cleanup here on the porch, and we want to trim these lines where they go around the window tags. And the way to do that is to trim inside, and then I'm going to use the lengthen command, LEN, And I'm going to choose the delta option down there, DE, enter. And I'm going to say minus 3 inches, enter. And then I'll click those lines, and you see it'll shorten it by 3 inches. Okay. All right, now where your text is here at the porch, you could draw a rectangle around the porch and then trim everything inside it and delete the rectangle. Or we can adjust the box size and then come up here and turn on mask. And we're going to go use a background mask, use drawing background color, and say OK. And then it just covers up anything behind it. Okay. Let's see. Let's trim around the arrow here. Will it do it? No. Let's see. Let's try cutting edges. Can't do it. Okay, let's try one other thing here. Let's grab that and let's go draw order, send to back. Okay, I think that got it. And now we'll do the lengthen command again. -3. And trim right there. Okay. DE -3. Okay. All right. And so that got pretty much the full drawing done. What you need to do now is go through and look at your whole drawing, and it'd probably be easier if you do it in Paperspace. And so let's put in the view name here, the drawing sheet name, floor plan, and that's what size text did I use? 1/2 inch, I think. 1/2 inch annotative. Okay. Put some notes in right here. They're 3/16. They could be 1/8 inch. Actually, they should be 1/8 inch. Yes. Okay. And what I'm saying, I'm because we drew our walls at 3.5 inches. I'm putting a note in there. Interior walls drawn at 3.5 inches. All opening offsets are 4 inches unless otherwise specified. That's the doors. Which reminds me of these openings here. We've got like a cased opening here. There was one here, and I forgot to do this one here. What I did with these two is I basically just came in 3 inches from the edge of the wall and started the opening, and then the same here, 3 inches back and started the opening. The same thing over here, 3 inches from both sides of the wall. So now here, how much distance do we have from here? There, 2.1. Okay, so let's pull some text. Okay, it shows a clean across here. So let's extend this across there. And then let's do an offset of 3 feet. And see how that looks. How does that look? Oh, I got my refrigerator drawn too long. Okay, that's what that is. Um, the refrigerator should be over here. But the problem is this is a 36-inch refrigerator and they didn't have a 30-inch one. What do I want to do? Yeah, let's move it. How far do I want to move it all the way over? No. Let's go that far. How about that? Okay, and so we'll need to move this there, do some trim. Okay, so I'll move that back out of the way where I can trim that line. And then trim our doorway there. Okay, that'll work for that kind of stuff, I think. I think that'll work. Okay, so I need you to look at everything. And if we go to paper space, if you're still working from a black screen, which, normally I would be, it'd be easier to see here in paper space. So activate your viewport, unlock it if you need to, and move your drawing view around so that all your dimensions are inside and it's centered, vertically up and down. Make sure your scale is at 1/4 inch and then lock that viewport back. Look at your drawing, look at your dimensions. At all the window tags, it should stop, at the tag or just outside the tag. All the walls should come to the corners of the wall intersections. So the corners should look like this. Interior walls should look like this. Okay. Door should be to the center of the door. Look at all of your dimensions to make sure they all look right. Okay. That they're lined up correctly. They look good. Check your door tags to make sure that they're in a door but not under something else. Okay. Make sure your dimensions are not on top of, some other object that you've drawn. Okay. So you're basically just kind of going over everything and make sure it all looks neat and lined up. Okay. Fill in your title block, the things that a lot of the gray boxes. There's attributes for the drawing sheet, so you can just double click it and edit it. There are several lines here that say edit line, so if you just double click that and edit that line. So put in your scale, project name here is fine. Give an owner an address of some kind. I don't care, that's fine. Okay. And then save your project. And we've got our floor plan drawing finished for these 2 weeks. Wasn't that fun? Okay, if you got questions, man, come see us, okay? Or, give us a shout. We'll get you fixed up.